Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
The story of How to Train Your Dragon did not conclude with its 2010 release. Instead, it became the foundation of a sprawling narrative universe that would explore the growth of its characters, the evolution of Berk, and the expanding relationship between humans and dragons. The sequel, How to Train Your Dragon 2, released in 2014, takes place 5 years after the events of the original film, showing Hiccup and Toothless as more mature figures navigating a world transformed by their previous actions. Berk has become a thriving village where humans and dragons coexist peacefully, reflecting the long-term consequences of Hiccup's pioneering vision. This sequel introduces new dragons, challenges, and moral dilemmas, expanding the thematic scope of the franchise. Hiccup faces questions of leadership, responsibility, and identity, demonstrating the narrative's commitment to character development and continuity. Toothless, as both companion and partner in flight and combat, evolves as well, showing deeper intelligence, autonomy, and emotional range. The sequel reinforces the idea that understanding and empathy are ongoing practices, not one-time achievements, and that leadership requires both courage and moral discernment. How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, released in 2019, continues the trajectory established by the first two films, pushing the narrative into increasingly complex territory. In this final installment of the main trilogy, Hiccup confronts the challenge of balancing personal desire, societal needs, and the safety of dragons against external threats. The discovery of the Hidden World, a secret sanctuary for dragons, introduces questions about protection, freedom, and coexistence on a larger scale. Hiccup's growth from an awkward, inventive youth into a thoughtful, empathetic leader is fully realized, and Toothless' character arc parallels Hiccup's journey, emphasizing themes of trust, partnership, and autonomy. The trilogy's conclusion emphasizes that relationships, whether between humans or between humans and dragons, are sustained by mutual respect, empathy, and adaptability. The sequels, in tandem with the original, create a cohesive narrative universe that explores adolescence, leadership, ethical responsibility, and the interplay between individual choice and communal well-being. Critical reception across the trilogy consistently highlights the franchise's ability to blend visual spectacle with meaningful storytelling. Reviewers have praised the films for their emotionally rich narratives, technical innovation, and thematic sophistication. The depiction of flight, particularly in aerial combat and exploration sequences, is lauded for its realism, fluidity, and cinematic scale, creating a sense of immersion that few animated films achieve. The emotional resonance of the story, particularly the father-son dynamic between Hiccup and Stoic, and the friendship between Hiccup and Toothless, provides depth that appeals to both younger audiences and adults. The franchise's treatment of moral and ethical themes, including the transformation of fear into understanding and the responsible stewardship of power, has led to its inclusion in academic discussions of modern animated cinema, narrative ethics, and child development in media studies. The thematic richness of How to Train Your Dragon also extends into its depiction of societal norms and the challenge of redefining them. Berk, as a microcosm of a rigid society, initially functions under fear, tradition, and the valorization of physical strength. Hiccup's approach challenges these norms through intelligence, empathy, and innovation. His success demonstrates that social transformation often requires courage not only in action but in thought, and that cultural change is achieved through persuasion, example, and trust-building rather than coercion. This narrative resonates with broader cultural and philosophical questions about leadership, governance, and societal evolution, giving the film relevance beyond entertainment. Merchandising and fan culture surrounding How to Train Your Dragon have played a significant role in cementing its legacy. Toys, collectible figurines, and interactive playsets allow fans to engage with the story world tangibly, fostering imaginative play and narrative exploration. Video games and interactive media further expand the narrative universe, giving audiences opportunities to inhabit the roles of their favorite characters and dragons. This transmedia storytelling approach reinforces the themes of exploration, cooperation, and problem-solving while providing an immersive experience that extends beyond the screen. Fan culture, including fan art, fan fiction, and community events, reflects the depth of engagement the franchise inspires. Toothless, in particular, has achieved iconic status, serving as a symbol of friendship, loyalty, and wonder across multiple generations. The academic and critical analysis of How to Train Your Dragon underscores its significance as a modern animated classic. Scholars and critics have explored its treatment of fear, empathy, and social transformation, noting the film's capacity to challenge assumptions and broaden perspectives. The portrayal of interspecies relationships serves as an allegory for human social dynamics, emphasizing communication, mutual respect, and ethical responsibility. The films have also been examined in the context of narrative structure, animation technology, and score composition, demonstrating how technical artistry supports thematic and emotional storytelling. The franchise exemplifies the potential of animated films to address complex ideas while remaining accessible and entertaining, bridging the gap between mass entertainment and thoughtful narrative art. The music, composed by John Powell, continues to be a defining element of the franchise's identity. Across the trilogy, Powell's compositions evolve alongside the characters, moving from motifs of wonder and discovery in the first film to themes of leadership, sacrifice, and hope in later installments. The orchestration is intricate, utilizing a wide array of instruments to convey the nuances of emotion and action. Music underscores key narrative moments, from the exhilaration of flight to the tension of conflict and the intimacy of personal reflection. Powell's work demonstrates how auditory storytelling can amplify the impact of visual and narrative elements, making the audience feel the emotional weight and grandeur of the story world. In terms of long-term legacy, How to Train Your Dragon has influenced both the animation industry and popular culture more broadly. Its success has encouraged studios to pursue projects that balance high-quality animation with emotionally sophisticated storytelling. The integration of technical innovation, narrative depth, and musical excellence sets a standard for contemporary animated cinema. Beyond the industry, the franchise has inspired fans to explore themes of empathy, courage, and creative problem-solving in their own lives. The enduring popularity of the characters, dragons, and story world demonstrates the capacity of animation to create lasting cultural icons, fostering imagination and emotional engagement across age groups and geographic boundaries. The franchise has also contributed to discussions about environmental awareness and coexistence. Dragons, as fantastical creatures, serve as metaphors for the natural world, emphasizing the importance of respect, understanding, and stewardship. The ethical dilemmas faced by Hiccup and other characters highlight the responsibilities of leadership, the consequences of exploitation, and the potential for harmonious relationships between different species. This ecological subtext adds depth to the narrative, allowing the films to resonate with contemporary concerns about conservation, interdependence, and ethical engagement with the environment. Finally, the success of How to Train Your Dragon lies not only in its storytelling and technical achievements but also in its emotional accessibility and universality. The journey of Hiccup and Toothless, from fear and misunderstanding to friendship and mutual respect, embodies principles that are relevant across cultures, generations, and contexts. The narrative demonstrates that courage, empathy, and innovation can overcome fear, prejudice, and adversity. Its impact is seen in the continued engagement of audiences, the thriving fan community, and the sustained relevance of its themes in discussions of media, culture, and human development. The trilogy as a whole provides a model for storytelling that is simultaneously entertaining, emotionally resonant, intellectually stimulating, and socially meaningful, ensuring its place as a defining work of 21st-century animation. The opening of How to Train Your Dragon immediately situates the audience in the turbulent life of Berk, emphasizing both the danger and the resilience of its Viking inhabitants. The sequence of dragon raids establishes the rhythm of the Viking world. Villages built on cliffs face constant aerial threats, livestock and resources are stolen nightly, and the villagers' responses are rapid, coordinated, and intensely physical. This immersive introduction serves multiple narrative purposes. It provides exposition without dialogue, establishes environmental stakes, and emphasizes the cultural identity of the Vikings as resilient, battle-hardened people. The sequence also foreshadows the thematic conflict between fear-driven aggression and the potential for understanding, which will dominate the story. Cinematically, the filmmakers employed dynamic sweeping camera movements and volumetric lighting to create the illusion of movement through air and chaos, immersing viewers in the moment and building tension. The animation of the dragons is meticulously designed to reflect individuality in behavior and appearance, a detail that becomes crucial later when Hiccup begins learning about each dragon's personality. Hiccup is introduced as a contrast to this world of physicality and aggression. His slight stature, awkward movements, and inventive mind immediately mark him as an outsider in his own community. Hiccup's initial attempts to participate in Viking life, from crafting gadgets to joining dragon-slaying training, consistently highlight the tension between personal capability and societal expectation. The filmmakers emphasize this dichotomy through visual storytelling. His inventions are bright, whimsical, and complex, juxtaposed against the muted, solid, brute strength of the village's traditional weapons and tools. Hiccup's relationship with his father, Stoic the Vast, deepens this narrative layer. Stoic is imposing, both physically and socially, and his vision of heroism is tied to strength and dominance over dragons. The tension between father and son drives much of Hiccup's internal conflict and sets the stage for his eventual emergence as a hero whose power is defined not by violence but by empathy, intelligence, and creativity. The turning point of the narrative, the accidental shooting of the Night Fury, is depicted with careful attention to both action and moral implication. Hiccup's use of a self-invented bola launcher introduces his inventive skill as a defining trait, while the resulting fall of the dragon sets up the central relationship of the story. When Hiccup discovers the injured Night Fury trapped in a canyon, the narrative shifts from physical action to moral and emotional contemplation. Hiccup faces a profound choice: to kill the dragon to gain approval or to act compassionately. By choosing the latter, Hiccup subverts the expectations of his community and the archetypal notion of heroism. The filmmakers use camera angles, lighting, and the dragon's expressive eyes to communicate vulnerability and intelligence, effectively creating a moment that prioritizes emotion and ethical decision-making over spectacle. This scene establishes the foundational theme of the film: true heroism arises from understanding, empathy, and the courage to act according to one's moral compass, even against societal norms. The development of Hiccup and Toothless relationship is gradual, emphasizing patience, observation, and learning. Toothless' physical disability, his damaged tail fin, necessitates Hiccup's ingenuity, leading to the invention of a prosthetic tail and a flight control saddle. This interdependence between human and dragon becomes both a plot device and a thematic metaphor, highlighting the power of cooperation and trust. The flying sequences that result from this innovation are among the film's most memorable moments. They are meticulously choreographed, combining realistic physics with imaginative cinematography. The camera swoops, dives, and circles around the characters, while volumetric clouds, atmospheric lighting, and particle effects for wind and fire create a sense of immersion and exhilaration. John Powell's score reinforces the sensation of flight, using soaring orchestral strings and rhythmic percussion to elicit emotional responses that range from excitement to awe. Hiccup's experiences in the Dragon Training School provide a parallel narrative exploring the contrast between traditional aggression and empathetic understanding. His peers, Astrid, Snotlout, Fishlegs, Toughnut, and Roughnut, represent conventional approaches to dragon combat: strength, force, and strategy grounded in fear. Hiccup's success, derived from observation and behavioral insight rather than brute strength, challenges these norms and highlights the narrative's thematic emphasis on knowledge and empathy. Astrid's arc is particularly significant. Initially skeptical of Hiccup, she evolves from suspicion to admiration as she experiences Toothless' flight and witnesses Hiccup's innovative approach. This character evolution reinforces the story's broader message: growth occurs when individuals are willing to question their assumptions and engage with the world in a more thoughtful, compassionate way. The story escalates in complexity with the discovery of the Red Death, a colossal dragon that dominates a volcanic island and enslaves smaller dragons through fear. This narrative shift reframes the central conflict, revealing that what had previously been perceived as mindless aggression was in fact coerced survival behavior. The design of the Red Death emphasizes scale, menace, and environmental integration, lava flows, volcanic ash, and dynamic fire lighting create a sense of both awe and danger. Hiccup's response to this new threat demonstrates his growth. Rather than reacting with violence, he devises a strategic, empathetic approach that leverages his understanding of dragon behavior, his innovative mind, and the trust he has built with Toothless. The ensuing aerial battle sequences are visually complex and narratively rich, combining environmental hazards, individual character arcs, and high-stakes conflict in a seamless, immersive spectacle. The choreography balances intense action with character-driven decision-making, ensuring that narrative clarity and emotional resonance are maintained. Following the climax, the resolution emphasizes both personal and societal transformation. Hiccup awakens with a prosthetic leg, a visual symbol of resilience and adaptation, while the village integrates dragons into daily life, signaling a shift from fear to coexistence. Stoike's recognition of Hiccup's unique heroism underscores the narrative's central moral: leadership and courage are defined not by physical prowess or domination but by understanding, empathy, and the willingness to challenge conventional wisdom. Toothless' continuing partnership with Hiccup embodies these lessons, symbolizing trust, loyalty, and the transformative power of friendship. From a production standpoint, How to Train Your Dragon is notable for its technical achievements. DreamWorks pioneered advanced animation techniques, including volumetric lighting, particle simulation for environmental effects, and dynamic rigging for character movement, creating a visually cohesive and emotionally immersive world. Toothless animation integrates references from real-world animals, cats, dogs, and reptiles, to produce lifelike expressions and movements, making him an emotionally resonant character despite lacking speech. The voice cast, led by Jay Baruchel as Hiccup and Gerard Butler as Stoike, adds depth and nuance, while America Ferrera's portrayal of Astrid contributes both strength and vulnerability. Supporting actors, including Jonah Hill, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, T.J. Miller, Kristen Wiig, and Craig Ferguson, provide humor, texture, and cultural specificity, enhancing the richness of the Viking community. The musical score by John Powell is integral to the film's emotional impact. Tracks such as Test Drive and This Is Burke underscore the exhilaration of flight and the emotional stakes of personal growth and societal change. Powell's use of Celtic instrumentation, orchestral layering, and thematic motifs reinforces both the fantastical and human elements of the story, creating a score that is both adventurous and emotionally resonant. Music cues are carefully synchronized with character action and narrative beats, enhancing audience engagement and supporting the film's thematic structure. The franchise that emerged from this film, 2 sequels, television series, theme park attractions, and extensive merchandise, continues to explore and expand upon the story's central themes: empathy, courage, innovation, leadership, and coexistence. Sequels delve into Hiccup's maturation as a leader, the complexities of loss, and the moral responsibilities of guiding both humans and dragons. Television adaptations expand the universe further, exploring side stories and lesser-known dragons, creating a comprehensive and immersive fictional ecosystem. The franchise demonstrates consistent emotional and narrative sophistication, appealing to audiences of all ages while maintaining the core values established in the original film. The enduring significance of How to Train Your Dragon lies in its combination of narrative depth, technical innovation, and emotional resonance. It is a film that challenges conventional notions of heroism, emphasizing the transformative power of empathy, understanding, and creative problem-solving. Hiccup and Toothless exemplify the potential for connection across differences, modeling friendship, trust, and cooperation. The narrative's rich thematic layers, identity, societal expectation, courage, and reconciliation, resonate deeply with audiences, making the film both entertaining and profoundly meaningful. The film opens with sweeping shots of Burke, immediately establishing the harsh, wind-swept environment where the Vikings reside. The cliffs jut sharply into the sea, waves crash violently against the rocks, and the village itself perches precariously on narrow ledges. These establishing visuals communicate a sense of danger, resilience, and the high stakes of life on Burke. Early scenes introduce the audience to Hiccup as he clumsily attempts to engage in dragon fighting training, emphasizing his physical inadequacy and social marginalization. The juxtaposition of Hiccup's awkwardness with the villagers' expectations sets up the central conflict, a young man whose intelligence, empathy, and creativity are initially undervalued in a society obsessed with strength and aggression. The animation during these early sequences reflects attention to detail and environmental effects, such as windswept hair, moving clouds, and realistic interactions between characters and the terrain. These elements ground the fantasy in a believable reality while maintaining the storybook charm that defines DreamWorks' aesthetic. The dragon raid sequences are meticulously choreographed, combining humor, suspense, and danger. Hiccup's first encounter with a dragon demonstrates his resourcefulness. He uses a mechanical contraption to shoot down a night fury, which, though small in stature, exudes an aura of mystery and latent power. This sequence introduces Toothless' character indirectly, as the dragon's agility and intelligence are evident even before a direct relationship is formed. The animation emphasizes precise wing movements, quick reflexes, and strategic positioning, conveying a sense of intelligence and autonomy that distinguishes Toothless from other dragons. The visual and narrative cues signal to the audience that this creature will play a central role not only in the plot but in the film's exploration of empathy, understanding, and trust. Once Hiccup discovers Toothless trapped in the forest, the narrative shifts into a more intimate and emotionally resonant tone. Hiccup's decision to spare the dragon and eventually aid in its recovery serves as a turning point, both for the story and for Hiccup's personal development. Scenes depicting the construction of Toothless' prosthetic tail fin are rich with detail, showing tools, sketches, and incremental adjustments, emphasizing Hiccup's inventive mind. The first successful flight sequence between Hiccup and Toothless is a masterpiece of animation, blending exhilaration with emotional bonding. The camera follows them dynamically from multiple angles, soaring above valleys, cliffs, and forests, accompanied by John Powell's swelling orchestral score that combines soaring melodies with intimate harmonic motifs. This scene epitomizes the film's core theme, the liberation and mutual growth that come from trust, understanding, and partnership. The Dragon Training School provides additional insight into Viking society and culture. Hiccup is tested against conventional expectations, learning that brute strength is valued over strategy or empathy. However, his unique approach, derived from his experiences with Toothless, allows him to outperform peers like Snotlout and Toughnut. Each training exercise is animated to highlight dragon behavior, Viking techniques, and Hiccup's growing confidence. The interplay of humor and tension in these sequences, combined with subtle character interactions, reinforces narrative themes while offering audiences moments of levity amid rising stakes. The design of the training grounds, including aerial obstacle courses, target zones, and dragon habitats, reflects an understanding of spatial storytelling, ensuring that action remains coherent, visually engaging, and narratively meaningful. The discovery of the Red Death escalates tension and broadens the film's thematic scope. The Red Death is a massive, imposing creature whose presence reframes dragon raids as acts of survival and subordination rather than mindless aggression. Animation for the Red Death required immense technical innovation, multiple layers of scales, realistic muscle movement, fire-breathing simulations, and dynamic interaction with smaller dragons all had to be rendered convincingly. The narrative significance of the Red Death extends beyond spectacle. It forces Hiccup and the audience to reconsider assumptions, explore moral ambiguity, and recognize that understanding the root cause of conflict is essential for resolution. The climactic confrontation, involving coordinated dragon flight, strategic maneuvering, and cooperative attacks, serves as a narrative and visual apex, demonstrating both Hiccup's growth and the rewards of empathy-driven problem-solving. Minor dragon species, while less central than Toothless, contribute significantly to world-building and thematic depth. The deadly Natter, Gronkel, and monstrous Nightmare each exhibit unique ecological behaviors, physical abilities, and personality traits that reinforce the film's message of diversity and coexistence. The deadly Natter, with its sharp tail spikes and agility, challenges the Vikings in precise aerial combat, highlighting the need for skill and observation rather than brute force. Gronkels, although slow and cumbersome, possess immense strength and unique defense mechanisms, such as lava projectiles, which add complexity to combat sequences and challenge traditional notions of vulnerability. Monstrous nightmares, flamboyant and fiery, serve as both adversaries and comic relief, enriching the narrative and providing insight into dragon individuality. The film's attention to these species underscores a key theme: understanding and respecting differences, whether among dragons or humans, is central to creating harmony and achieving shared goals. The relationship between Hiccup and Toothless is explored through multiple narrative beats, each reinforcing mutual growth. Early interactions focus on establishing trust, overcoming fear, and understanding nonverbal communication. Midway through the film, their bond strengthens during collaborative problem-solving sequences, such as navigating complex terrains or evading predatory dragons. Toward the climax, their synchronized aerial maneuvers against the Red Death exemplify a fully matured partnership, combining strategy, empathy, and emotional synergy. These sequences are animated with meticulous attention to detail: wing movements, tail-fin adjustments, eye contact, and subtle gestures all convey narrative meaning, creating an emotionally resonant experience that communicates the depth of their bond without relying on dialogue. From a production standpoint, How to Train Your Dragon represents a milestone in computer animation. DreamWorks employed proprietary software and advanced rendering techniques to simulate realistic physics for dragon flight, interactions with terrain, and environmental effects such as wind, clouds, and lighting. Storyboards and pre-visualizations were extensively used to plan camera angles, choreography, and timing, ensuring that both narrative coherence and visual spectacle were achieved. Voice performances were integrated into the animation process through meticulous lip syncing, facial expression mapping, and motion adjustments, ensuring that emotional nuance was preserved across all character interactions. The collaboration between animators, technical directors, composers, and voice actors resulted in a film where technical mastery and storytelling sophistication are inseparable, creating a seamless viewing experience. Critical reception emphasizes the film's multifaceted appeal. Reviewers praised its technical achievements, the depth of character development, and its emotional resonance, noting that it transcends conventional animated adventure films by combining spectacle with substantive moral and philosophical themes. The depiction of dragons as intelligent, autonomous creatures challenged existing genre conventions, while Hiccup's journey offered a nuanced exploration of disability, innovation, and non-traditional heroism. Box office performance reflected these qualities, as the film achieved significant domestic and international revenue, securing its place as a cornerstone of DreamWorks' portfolio and laying the groundwork for sequels and franchise expansion. The franchise growth following the original film is substantial. Sequels like How to Train Your Dragon 2 and The Hidden World explore deeper character arcs, additional dragon species, societal complexities, and environmental stewardship, all while maintaining consistency with the original's moral and thematic foundation. Television adaptations, such as Dragons, Race to the Edge, expand secondary character stories, introduce new adventures, and deepen audience engagement. Merchandising, including interactive toys, video games, and themed attractions, allows audiences to participate actively in the narrative universe, reinforcing the franchise's cultural and commercial impact. In analyzing the broader cultural significance, How to Train Your Dragon can be seen as a narrative that encourages audiences to challenge assumptions, embrace diversity, and value intelligence and empathy alongside courage and strength. Hiccup's story exemplifies leadership through understanding, Toothless embodies agency and emotional complexity, and the villagers of Berk ultimately learn that cooperation, respect, and mutual trust are essential for a thriving society. These themes resonate across cultures and age groups, contributing to the film's enduring popularity and relevance. The narrative of How to Train Your Dragon can be examined through a scene-by-scene progression that highlights character development, thematic resonance, and visual spectacle. The film opens with a prologue depicting Berk under siege, where the villagers, led by Stoik the Vast, repel an aggressive dragon raid. This establishes both the stakes of the story and the cultural norms of the Viking society, in which dragons are perceived as threats to survival. The opening sequences utilize sweeping shots of the village against harsh natural landscapes, snow-covered cliffs, rocky coastlines, and turbulent seas, reinforcing the idea of a harsh, unforgiving environment that has shaped the inhabitants' attitudes and behaviors over generations. The narrative immediately situates Hiccup as an outsider. His inventions, though creative, repeatedly fail in combat drills, eliciting ridicule from peers and disapproval from his father. This early exposition efficiently sets up Hiccup's arc from underdog to hero. The moment Hiccup shoots down the Night Fury during a dragon raid is both a turning point and the inciting incident of the story. Unlike other Vikings who might celebrate the kill, Hiccup's internal conflict is evident. This sequence is meticulously animated to convey danger and suspense while simultaneously exploring Hiccup's moral compass. The Night Fury's near-mystical qualities, sleek black scales, retractable teeth, and luminous eyes, create a sense of awe and mystery, distinguishing it from the more familiar dragon species. Hiccup's decision to spare the dragon and observe it demonstrates an early rejection of fear-driven culture, emphasizing empathy as a defining characteristic. Subsequent scenes focus on Hiccup's efforts to understand and assist Toothless, culminating in the invention of a mechanical tail fin and custom saddle that allow the dragon to fly. The film carefully constructs these sequences to demonstrate trial, error, and learning. Hiccup's interactions with Toothless are detailed and nuanced. Gestures, glances, and vocalizations are used to communicate intent, fear, and trust. These nonverbal exchanges highlight the film's thematic focus on communication and understanding across species. The first successful flight sequence is not only a technical achievement in animation but also a narrative and emotional climax, providing a visual representation of Hiccup's ingenuity, courage, and partnership with Toothless. The camera movement and musical accompaniment in these sequences simulate the sensation of flight, immersing the audience and reinforcing the bond between human and dragon. The subplot involving Hiccup's peers, Astrid, Snotlout, Fishlegs, Roughnut, and Toughnut, serves to provide contrast, conflict, and growth. Astrid's initial skepticism transforms into admiration, reflecting the film's broader theme of openness to new perspectives. Snotlout's competitiveness and Fishleg's cautiousness illustrate different approaches to challenges, highlighting that courage and intelligence can manifest in diverse ways. The Thorsten twins, with their impulsive antics, provide levity but also demonstrate the potential consequences of recklessness. These interpersonal dynamics enrich the narrative, creating a multifaceted depiction of social and cultural interaction within the Viking community. The film escalates tension through the introduction of the Red Death, the apex dragon antagonist whose dominance over other dragons explains Berk's history of raids. The Red Death represents both a literal and symbolic threat, embodying the consequences of fear-driven behavior and unchecked aggression. The climactic battle sequences are a masterclass in coordinated animation, choreography, and emotional pacing. Hiccup's strategy involves observation, empathy, and ingenuity, as he and Toothless coordinate with the other dragons to outmaneuver and ultimately defeat the Red Death. These sequences are notable not only for visual spectacle but also for narrative significance. They illustrate the triumph of intellect, cooperation, and moral courage over brute force and rigid tradition. Awards and critical reception further underscore the film's impact. How to Train Your Dragon was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, highlighting its recognition by peers in the animation industry. Critics praised its technical achievements, including realistic flight animation, environmental design, and expressive character modeling. John Powell's musical score was widely lauded for complementing narrative tone, with sweeping themes that captured both the grandeur of aerial sequences and the intimacy of character-driven moments. The film's success contributed to DreamWorks Animation's reputation for balancing technical innovation with emotionally resonant storytelling. The cultural and franchise impact of How to Train Your Dragon is significant. The film launched two direct sequels, How to Train Your Dragon 2, 2014, and How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, 2019, which expanded the narrative, deepened character arcs, and introduced new dragons and cultures. Each sequel built on the original's themes of leadership, identity, and empathy, while exploring more complex political and emotional dynamics within and beyond Berk. Television adaptations, including DreamWorks' Dragons and Dragons, Race to the Edge, further explored character backstories, secondary characters, and dragon species, creating a rich extended universe. Short films and spin-offs, such as Legend of the Bone Napper Dragon, provided additional lore and humor, reinforcing engagement with audiences of all ages. The franchise's longevity can also be attributed to its universal themes. The story of a young, underestimated individual challenging rigid norms resonates across cultures, while the depiction of dragons as complex beings challenges audiences to reconsider notions of enemy and other. The combination of humor, adventure, and emotional depth ensures appeal to both children and adults, a balance that is often challenging to achieve in animated filmmaking. Moreover, the technical innovation, particularly in CGI, flight animation, and environmental realism, set new benchmarks for animated features, influencing subsequent productions in both narrative and visual style. The animation of How to Train Your Dragon represents a landmark achievement in the evolution of computer-generated imagery. DreamWorks Animation pushed the boundaries of what was technically possible, creating a cinematic experience that combined photorealistic environments, expressive character animation, and dynamic aerial sequences. One of the most notable aspects of the animation is the depiction of flight. Flying sequences are choreographed with meticulous attention to physics, aerodynamics, and motion. The animators studied real-world animal flight, particularly that of birds and bats, to ensure that dragon movements felt natural while still allowing for fantastical exaggeration. Each wing beat, dive, and turn is carefully calculated to convey weight, speed, and momentum, creating a visceral sense of movement that immerses viewers in the sky alongside Hiccup and Toothless. Environmental design also plays a critical role in the film's visual storytelling. Berk, the dragon's nest, and surrounding landscapes are rendered with an extraordinary attention to detail, combining rugged Viking architecture with naturalistic rock formations, forests, and ocean vistas. Weather effects, lighting, and atmospheric perspective contribute to a sense of realism while enhancing the emotional tone of each scene. Daylight, storm clouds, mist, and the glow of dragon fire are all used to amplify drama and highlight narrative tension. Character animation is equally sophisticated. The filmmakers ensured that every character, human or dragon, communicates emotion through body language, facial expressions, and movement. Toothless, for instance, exhibits subtle cues such as ear flicks, tail movements, and eye shifts to convey curiosity, fear, playfulness, and loyalty. Human characters, particularly Hiccup, are animated to reflect personality and growth, with posture, gestures, and timing reinforcing traits like awkwardness, determination, and courage. The interplay between characters and environment is seamlessly integrated. Dragons interact convincingly with terrain, villagers, and objects, making their presence feel tangible rather than artificially imposed. Sound design complements the animation, with dragons given distinctive vocalizations, breathing sounds, and wing flaps that further individualize each species. The musical score, composed by John Powell, is another cornerstone of the film's impact. Powell's compositions blend orchestral grandeur with Celtic influences, reflecting the Viking setting and adding emotional resonance to every scene. The main theme is soaring and heroic, underscoring flight sequences and moments of triumph, while softer, more intimate motifs accompany bonding scenes, emphasizing empathy and friendship. The music is meticulously synchronized with the animation, enhancing narrative pacing, tension, and release. Action sequences are elevated by percussive rhythms, while strings and woodwinds provide lyrical depth during emotional or contemplative moments. Powell's use of leitmotifs allows recurring themes to represent characters, relationships, and concepts, strengthening audience connection and reinforcing storytelling without the need for dialogue. The film premiered on March 21, 2010, before its wide release in the United States on March 26, 2010. Distributed by Paramount Pictures, it quickly became a commercial success, praised for both technical mastery and narrative depth. Critical reception was overwhelmingly positive, with reviewers highlighting its innovation in animation, emotional storytelling, and appeal across age groups. Audiences responded to the film's combination of adventure, humor, and heart, cementing its reputation as a modern animated classic. Box office performance reflected this enthusiasm. The film grossed over $494 million worldwide against a production budget estimated around $165 million. Its success not only justified sequels and spin-offs but also reinforced DreamWorks' position as a leader in high-quality animated filmmaking. Beyond financial success, the cultural impact of How to Train Your Dragon has been profound. It launched a multimedia franchise including sequels, How to Train Your Dragon 2 in 2014 and How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World in 2019, television series, short films, video games, and theme park attractions. Each continuation expanded on the original story, exploring deeper character arcs, dragon species, and world building, while maintaining the visual and thematic consistency established in the first film. The franchise has influenced other animated works, particularly in the portrayal of non-human characters with emotional complexity, the integration of flying or action-oriented sequences, and the blending of humor with mature themes suitable for family audiences. Merchandise, including toys, clothing, and collectibles, has allowed fans to engage with the story beyond the screen, reinforcing the narrative's emotional and cultural resonance. Educational and social discussions have also emerged from the film's themes. Teachers, parents, and media analysts have noted its value in promoting empathy, problem-solving, environmental awareness, and the questioning of traditional norms. The depiction of Hiccup's growth, his innovative approach to challenges, and his compassionate relationship with Toothless provide a model for thinking critically and ethically about leadership, friendship, and cooperation. The film's legacy is further solidified by its continued presence in streaming platforms, home video releases, and public screenings, where new generations of viewers continue to discover and engage with its story. Animators, filmmakers, and storytellers frequently cite How to Train Your Dragon as an inspiration for combining technological innovation with emotionally resonant storytelling. Its achievements in animation, narrative depth, music, and cultural influence ensure that it remains a benchmark in the field of family entertainment. In conclusion, How to Train Your Dragon exemplifies the power of animated storytelling to captivate audiences visually, emotionally, and intellectually. From groundbreaking flight sequences to nuanced character relationships, from John Powell's evocative score to its innovative animation techniques, the film integrates artistry and narrative in a way that resonates across age groups and cultures. Its financial success, critical acclaim, and lasting cultural footprint demonstrate the effectiveness of combining imaginative world-building, complex characters, and universal themes. The story of Hiccup and Toothless, of understanding and courage, continues to inspire audiences, affirming that animation can convey profound lessons while providing thrilling entertainment. The legacy of How to Train Your Dragon extends far beyond the screen, influencing subsequent works, shaping audience expectations, and demonstrating that even in a fantastical setting, the themes of empathy, friendship, and courage are timeless and universally compelling. The richness of How to Train Your Dragon lies in its meticulous attention to both individual character psychology and the broader social context of the Viking village of Berk. Hiccup's internal journey is layered with conflict, self-doubt, curiosity, and moral responsibility. Unlike a traditional hero archetype, Hiccup is defined by his intellectual curiosity and emotional intelligence rather than sheer physical strength. His approach to problem-solving emphasizes observation, analysis, and creative ingenuity, making him a hero whose power derives from thoughtfulness, empathy, and adaptability. Hiccup's psychological complexity is evident in his interactions with both humans and dragons. He negotiates the tension between fear and understanding, loyalty and independence, duty and personal conviction. His struggles with identity and self-worth are universal, reflecting the challenges of adolescence and the human desire for acceptance and recognition. This depth allows audiences to engage with Hiccup not merely as a fantastical figure but as a relatable individual navigating growth, responsibility, and ethical decision-making. Astrid's psychology complements Hiccup's journey by presenting a character initially grounded in tradition and pragmatism, whose worldview evolves through exposure to alternative perspectives. Her transition from skepticism to partnership highlights the film's broader message that courage encompasses openness to learning and the willingness to reconsider entrenched beliefs. Stoic the Vast, as a father figure and village leader, embodies authority, strength, and duty, yet his evolution alongside Hiccup demonstrates that leadership is also defined by adaptability, empathy, and support. This intergenerational dynamic explores themes of legacy, mentorship, and the balance between maintaining tradition and embracing innovation. The society of Berk itself is portrayed as a microcosm of rigid social structures shaped by fear and necessity. Generations of dragon attacks have forged a culture where physical prowess and combat skill are valorized, while intellectual inquiry and alternative approaches are often marginalized. The village's reliance on fear to maintain safety initially constrains creativity and limits understanding of the natural world. Hiccup's emergence challenges these norms, illustrating how individuals can catalyze social transformation through innovation, empathy, and ethical reasoning. The depiction of Berk provides a rich setting for exploring human behavior in contexts of threat, resource scarcity, and cultural tradition, making the story as much a study of social dynamics as it is an adventure narrative. Dragons in the film are not uniform creatures but complex beings with distinct abilities, temperaments, and symbolic significance. Toothless, the Night Fury, represents intelligence, loyalty, and the unknown, the embodiment of fear transformed into friendship. Other species, such as gronkles, monstrous nightmares, and deadly natter dragons, each have unique behavioral patterns, strengths, and weaknesses, reflecting the diversity of the natural and fantastical world. The careful attention to classification, behavior, and interspecies dynamics demonstrates an almost ecological approach to world building. Dragons symbolize the other, challenging humans to confront fear, exercise empathy, and embrace coexistence. This layered representation elevates the narrative beyond simple adventure, allowing for rich allegorical readings regarding difference, diversity, and ethical responsibility. Animation techniques in How to Train Your Dragon push the boundaries of computer-generated imagery. The flight sequences, which are central to the film, require detailed study of aerodynamics, motion physics, and environmental interaction. Animators simulated realistic wind resistance, momentum, and weight distribution to ensure that Hiccup and Toothless moved believably through space. Attention to lighting, texture, and environmental detail further enhanced immersion, from the glint of sunlight on dragon scales to the dynamic behavior of water during oceanic sequences. Facial animation utilized subtle expressions, micro-movements, and eye detail to convey emotion, allowing characters to communicate complex feelings without relying solely on dialogue. The combination of technical precision and artistic creativity enabled the film to maintain both visual spectacle and emotional intimacy simultaneously. The soundtrack, composed by John Powell, is integral to the storytelling. Powell's orchestration employs leitmotifs to represent character relationships, emotional arcs, and narrative milestones. The musical motifs associated with Toothless and Hiccup evolve over the course of the story, reflecting the deepening of their bond. Percussive elements heighten tension during battles, while strings and woodwinds underscore intimate and reflective moments. Powell's score demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of musical storytelling, enhancing the audience's emotional engagement and reinforcing narrative rhythm. The synergy between music, animation, and voice acting elevates key sequences to memorable cinematic experiences, particularly the iconic first flight sequence, which combines technical mastery, musical crescendo, and narrative payoff. The global reception of How to Train Your Dragon reflects its universal appeal. Released across multiple countries, the film resonated with audiences of diverse ages, cultures, and backgrounds. Its themes of empathy, courage, and innovation transcend cultural barriers, while its technical achievements and visual splendor appeal to global sensibilities. Critics worldwide recognize the film as a landmark in animated storytelling, praising its balance of humor, heart, and action. The international success of the film established it as a franchise capable of appealing to a broad demographic spectrum, from children enchanted by dragons to adults engaged by narrative sophistication and thematic depth. Educationally, the film provides numerous opportunities for engagement with topics such as emotional intelligence, ethics, leadership, ecology, and creative problem-solving. Hiccup's approach models adaptive thinking and moral reasoning, making the narrative a valuable tool for discussions about empathy, diversity, and conflict resolution. The depiction of dragon behavior, classification, and ecological interaction can also serve as a springboard for lessons in biology, environmental stewardship, and observation-based learning. Through both narrative and visual storytelling, the film encourages critical thinking, imaginative exploration, and ethical reflection, extending its impact beyond entertainment into educational and developmental contexts. Behind-the-scenes production stories further illuminate the depth of care and creativity invested in the film. Directors Sanders and Dubois emphasized collaborative storytelling, involving animators, voice actors, musicians, and technical teams in shaping the final product. Character design evolved through multiple iterations, balancing fantasy elements with functional anatomy and emotional expressiveness. The creation of Toothless, in particular, involved extensive experimentation to achieve a creature that was simultaneously intimidating, agile, and endearing. Voice actors participated in motion capture sessions to synchronize expression and movement, ensuring cohesion between vocal performance and animated action. The production process exemplifies the fusion of technical innovation, artistic vision, and narrative craftsmanship that defines modern animated filmmaking at its highest level. The attention to environmental detail, from Burke's rugged cliffs to its windswept valleys and rolling seas, demonstrates a commitment to immersive world-building. Background design, lighting, and environmental effects contribute to a sense of scale and realism, allowing audiences to experience the village not merely as a setting but as a lived-in world. These visual choices reinforce narrative themes, such as the tension between isolation and connection, fear and trust, and human ingenuity versus natural forces. Each frame is carefully composed to support storytelling, emotional tone, and audience engagement, illustrating the interplay of art, technology, and narrative intention. The psychological resonance of the film is further reinforced by the careful pacing of tension, humor, and emotional reflection. Action sequences are interspersed with quieter moments of character development, dialogue, and introspection, allowing audiences to process narrative and emotional stakes. The interplay of fear, curiosity, and trust, particularly in Hiccup's interactions with Toothless, mirrors real-world processes of relationship building, learning, and overcoming bias. This balance ensures that the film engages audiences cognitively, emotionally, and aesthetically, making it a holistic cinematic experience. From the moment the opening credits fade, How to Train Your Dragon meticulously constructs the physical and cultural world of Berk, an island shaped as much by geography as by history. The village sits atop jagged cliffs, overlooking stormy seas that symbolize the constant peril faced by its Viking inhabitants. Every building, from the blacksmith's forge to the modest homes, conveys a sense of practicality shaped by necessity, yet adorned with personal touches, painted shields, carvings, and trophies of dragon hunts, that reveal cultural values of strength, honor, and skill. The filmmakers emphasize the texture of this environment. Wood grain, stone surfaces, soot, and smoke all add layers of authenticity, creating a tactile realism that grounds the fantastical elements in a believable world. Early sequences of dragon raids highlight both danger and choreography. Dragons swoop with precision, livestock scatters, and villagers respond in coordinated bursts of violence, using catapults, spears, and fire to protect their homes. These sequences serve multiple functions. They establish the stakes, immerse viewers in Viking culture, and set up the dramatic tension that frames Hiccup's story as a narrative of exception rather than norm. Hiccup's first scenes juxtapose the chaos around him with his awkward ingenuity. He is not the brawny warrior expected of a Viking, instead, he is lean, inventive, and intellectually curious. His attempts to engage in dragon-slaying training are clumsy, often resulting in physical comedy that underscores his outsider status. This visual storytelling communicates immediately that Hiccup operates under a different set of rules: creativity, empathy, and observation rather than brute force define his skill set. His father, Stoik the Vast, looms as both literal and figurative authority, embodying the Viking ideal. Stoik is imposing in stature, commanding in presence, and unwavering in belief that dragons are enemies to be vanquished. Their early interactions reveal the tension between societal expectation and individual identity. Stoik's frustrations with Hiccup are tempered by paternal concern, hinting at a deeper emotional connection that will emerge fully only after Hiccup proves his unique form of heroism. The pivotal moment occurs when Hiccup, using a self-constructed bola launcher, inadvertently shoots down a Night Fury, the rarest and most mysterious dragon known to Berk. This event catalyzes the central narrative and thematic arc. The Night Fury's design is deliberately sleek and dark, embodying stealth, intelligence, and a sense of otherworldly grace. When Hiccup discovers the dragon trapped and injured in a canyon, the narrative slows to emphasize moral choice over action. Hiccup could kill the dragon to gain approval, but his choice to spare it signals the emergence of empathy as the defining trait of his heroism. Cinematically, this moment is reinforced through close-ups of Hiccup's hesitant hand, toothless wide, expressive eyes, and the interplay of shadows and light, emphasizing vulnerability and potential connection. This encounter establishes the moral center of the film. Courage is measured by ethical choices and the capacity for understanding, not physical dominance. The subsequent bonding between Hiccup and Toothless unfolds with careful attention to both emotional development and visual storytelling. Toothless' disability, a missing tail fin, necessitates innovation, prompting Hiccup to create a prosthetic fin and flight harness. Their first flights together are visual spectacles that also function as metaphorical expressions of interdependence, trust, and personal growth. The flight sequences are choreographed with cinematic precision, dynamic camera angles simulate speed and height, clouds and wind effects convey environmental realism, and musical scoring by John Powell amplifies the emotional resonance. The audience experiences not just exhilaration but also intimacy, as Hiccup learns to interpret Toothless' behavior, and the dragon responds to human guidance in turn. The synergy between character animation, sound design, and musical composition creates a seamless emotional and sensory experience that distinguishes these sequences as some of the most celebrated in animated cinema. Parallel to Hiccup's secret training, the village's dragon fighting school introduces his peers, Astrid, Snotlout, Fishlegs, Toughnut, and Roughnut. Each character embodies a distinct approach to dragons, representing conventional, aggression-based methodology. Hiccup's unconventional success, derived from observation, strategy, and empathy, challenges these norms, creating both conflict and comedic relief. Astrid's arc is particularly notable. Her initial skepticism evolves into admiration and respect as she witnesses Hiccup's methods and participates in flight alongside Toothless. This subplot reinforces the film's broader thematic concerns, the dismantling of prejudice, the rewards of open-mindedness, and the growth that comes from embracing new perspectives. The nuanced interaction between Hiccup and Astrid also lays the foundation for the emotional continuity in the sequels, providing a credible and emotionally satisfying relationship trajectory. The narrative escalates dramatically with the discovery of the Red Death, a colossal dragon that resides within the volcanic heart of the Dragon's Island. Unlike the smaller dragons, whose raiding behavior is survival-driven, the Red Death embodies tyranny and fear, coercing subordinate dragons to steal for its sustenance. The visual design emphasizes scale and menace. Lava flows, fiery lighting, ash-filled skies, and immense textured scales create a palpable sense of threat. Hiccup's response to the Red Death demonstrates his matured heroism. Rather than relying on conventional Viking strength, he employs strategy, understanding, and partnership with Toothless to confront a challenge exponentially larger than himself. The climactic battle sequences are choreographed with meticulous attention to environmental hazards, aerial physics, and character agency, balancing spectacle with narrative coherence. Every maneuver and reaction reflects a deep understanding of the character's emotional stakes, ensuring that the tension remains both thrilling and meaningful. Following the resolution, the narrative shifts toward transformation and reconciliation. Hiccup awakens with a prosthetic leg, symbolizing resilience and adaptation. Berk itself transforms from a fear-driven village into a community where humans and dragons coexist, illustrating societal change through personal growth. Stoic's acknowledgement of Hiccup's heroism reflects the recognition that leadership and bravery manifest in varied forms. Toothless remains a central figure, embodying the themes of trust, loyalty, and mutual growth. The conclusion reinforces the narrative's moral core: understanding, compassion, and innovative thinking are as heroic as any display of physical strength or dominance. The production of How to Train Your Dragon is a landmark in technical innovation. DreamWorks employed advanced simulation techniques for weather, lighting, and environmental interaction. Toothless animation drew on feline, canine, and reptilian references, creating a creature that is both expressive and realistic. The voice cast, led by Jay Baruchel, Gerard Butler, and America Ferrera, imbues the characters with depth and emotional authenticity. John Powell's musical score integrates Celtic instrumentation, sweeping orchestration, and thematic motifs that reinforce both action and intimate moments, enhancing narrative resonance and audience immersion. Beyond the film, the franchise's expansion into sequels, television series, and merchandise underscores its cultural impact. Themes of empathy, courage, and partnership are consistently explored, while the detailed world-building of Berk, the variety of dragon species, and the complexity of character arcs provide a rich, immersive universe for ongoing storytelling. The franchise demonstrates that animation can convey sophisticated moral and emotional narratives while maintaining accessibility and entertainment value for audiences of all ages. In sum, How to Train Your Dragon is a cinematic achievement that combines narrative sophistication, technical innovation, and emotional resonance. Hiccup and Toothless exemplify courage, empathy, and partnership. The film challenges conventional notions of heroism and highlights the transformative potential of understanding and trust. Its legacy endures in its sequels, expanded universe, and continued relevance as a story that resonates with audiences on both personal and cultural levels. The supporting characters in How to Train Your Dragon play essential roles in both narrative and thematic development, enriching the story world beyond the central duo of Hiccup and Toothless. Snotlout Jorgensen, for example, embodies traits of arrogance, competitiveness, and impatience. His desire to prove himself through traditional forms of heroism contrasts sharply with Hiccup's innovative and empathetic approach, creating narrative tension and highlighting the film's subversion of conventional Viking values. Snotlout's interactions with Hiccup serve as a recurring source of conflict, humor, and lessons in humility, as he often underestimates both Hiccup's ingenuity and the intelligence of dragons. Fishlegs Ingerman, in contrast, represents intellectual curiosity and thoroughness. His encyclopedic knowledge of dragons provides exposition for the audience while also serving as a reminder that observation, study, and patience are valuable tools in understanding the world, complementing Hiccup's inventive approach. Fishleg's cautious nature balances the more impulsive tendencies of characters like Toughnut and Roughnut, creating a dynamic ensemble that reflects the range of personalities within the Viking community. Toughnut and Roughnut Thorsten, the mischievous twins, inject levity and unpredictability into the narrative. Their chaotic behavior often leads to comedic mishaps but also allows for moments of unexpected heroism. These characters demonstrate that courage and contribution can emerge from unexpected sources, reinforcing one of the film's central messages, that every individual, regardless of conventional expectations, has unique strengths and potential. Gobber the Belch serves as a mentor figure, blending humor with wisdom. He bridges the generational and philosophical gap between Hiccup and Stoic, offering practical guidance, encouragement, and moral insight. Gobber's presence underscores the film's thematic emphasis on mentorship, learning, and the importance of questioning traditional norms while maintaining respect for experience. The dragon's biology, behavior, and personalities are equally critical to the film's narrative and thematic depth. Toothless, as a night fury, is characterized by intelligence, agility, and emotional expressiveness. His retractable teeth, large eyes, and feline-like movements allow for nuanced nonverbal communication that resonates with audiences, establishing a strong emotional connection without extensive dialogue. The Red Death, a colossal dragon, functions as both a physical and symbolic antagonist. Its immense size, firepower, and control over other dragons represent oppressive forces and the dangers of misunderstanding and fear-driven conflict. The monstrous nightmare's flamboyant aggression, the Gronkle's surprising strength and loyalty, and the deadly Natter's precision and agility illustrate a diverse ecosystem where each species' traits influence both the narrative and the character's strategies. The filmmaker's meticulous attention to dragon anatomy, movement, and behavior demonstrates a commitment to internal logic and world building, enhancing audience immersion and reinforcing the story's themes of coexistence and respect for difference. Scene by scene, the film is carefully structured to balance action, humor, and emotional development. Early sequences in Burke establish the societal hierarchy, the dangers of dragon raids, and Hiccup's marginalization. The first dragon encounter and Toothless capture provide narrative and visual stakes, introducing audiences to key animation techniques, such as dynamic camera angles, wing and tail articulation, and environmental interaction. The training school sequences explore Hiccup's ingenuity, with scenes choreographed to display problem-solving, observational skills, and the application of knowledge gained from Toothless. Mid-film sequences, including covert flights and dragon interactions, deepen emotional bonds and showcase flight dynamics, camera movement, and musical synchronization. The climactic confrontation with the Red Death incorporates aerial combat, strategic coordination, and environmental destruction, demonstrating technical mastery in rendering, physics simulation, and character animation. The denouement focuses on character resolution, the transformation of Burke's social dynamics, and the establishment of a new era of human-dragon coexistence, emphasizing emotional closure alongside visual spectacle. Musically, John Powell's score functions as a narrative and emotional guide. Each character has associated motifs. Hiccup's theme combines delicate, inventive instrumentation reflecting curiosity and ingenuity. Toothless' theme uses light, agile melodies that mirror movement and emotional expression, and the Red Death's motif employs low-register, ominous orchestration to convey danger and scale. Action sequences feature rhythmic intensification and harmonic layering that align with visual pacing, while quieter, intimate scenes use sparse instrumentation to emphasize subtle emotional beats. Powell's score integrates seamlessly with diegetic sounds, such as dragon roars, wing flaps, and environmental effects, creating an immersive soundscape that reinforces narrative engagement and emotional resonance. Production insights reveal the film's complexity and innovation. Storyboarding involved meticulous planning of flight paths, character positioning, and environmental interaction to ensure clarity and dynamism. Animators studied animal locomotion, flight physics, and human gesture to create believable movements for both dragons and Vikings. Facial expressions, subtle gestures, and body language were prioritized to communicate emotion effectively, allowing for character depth without reliance on exposition. Lighting and rendering techniques were developed to balance realistic environmental effects with cinematic clarity, particularly in complex aerial and action sequences. Voice actors performed in sync with animatics, enabling animators to match expressions and movements precisely with vocal inflection, resulting in performances that feel natural and emotionally resonant. The film's critical reception reinforced its status as a milestone in animation. Reviewers praised its visual innovation, narrative depth, character development, and musical integration, often noting that it transcends traditional animated adventure films. Its success on the global box office, coupled with awards nominations and audience acclaim, validated DreamWorks' investment in technically sophisticated, emotionally intelligent storytelling. Analysts have noted its influence on subsequent animated films, particularly in the depiction of non-human intelligence, the integration of complex moral themes, and the balance of spectacle with character-driven narrative. The franchise's expansion further demonstrates the story's enduring impact. Sequels explore Hiccup's maturation as a leader, Toothless' development as both partner and independent agent, and the discovery of new dragon habitats and species. Television series delve into secondary characters, dragon behavior, and world building, maintaining continuity while providing depth. Merchandising and interactive media allow fans to engage actively with the story world, reinforcing the narrative's cultural penetration. Scholarly discussions have highlighted the film's treatment of diversity, empathy, and ethical leadership, situating it within broader debates on storytelling, representation, and moral pedagogy in animation. In its entirety, How to Train Your Dragon exemplifies a rare synthesis of technical mastery, narrative sophistication, and emotional depth. By focusing on themes of empathy, trust, ingenuity, and courage, it challenges conventional notions of heroism and fosters a nuanced understanding of leadership, partnership, and moral responsibility. The interplay between human characters and dragons, the immersive environmental design, and the carefully integrated musical score create an experience that is both thrilling and emotionally resonant. The story of Hiccup and Toothless is emblematic of the film's enduring message, that meaningful connections, understanding, and collaboration can overcome fear, prejudice, and convention, leaving a lasting impact on individuals and communities alike. Beyond the core film trilogy, How to Train Your Dragon expanded into a comprehensive multimedia franchise that reinforced its cultural impact and sustained audience engagement. Television adaptations such as DreamWorks' Dragons and Dragons, Race to the Edge explored events between the films and offered deeper character development. These series allowed for extended exploration of secondary characters, relationships, and dragon lore that could not be fully developed in the time-constrained format of theatrical films. They introduced new dragon species, provided nuanced depictions of village life, and highlighted Hiccup's growing leadership skills. Through episodic storytelling, these shows emphasized themes of teamwork, responsibility, and exploration, reinforcing the messages of the original film while offering opportunities for serialized character growth. Merchandising and commercial tie-ins further expanded the reach of the franchise. Action figures, Lego sets, video games, and interactive toys allowed fans to engage with the characters and dragons in imaginative play. Products often mirrored specific film sequences, such as flight or dragon training scenes, reinforcing narrative memory and emotional attachment. Video games enabled players to simulate flying with Toothless, train dragons, and explore Berk, extending the immersive experience beyond the cinematic medium. These commercial ventures not only generated revenue but also contributed to the cultural presence of the franchise, making How to Train Your Dragon a recognizable and beloved property across generations. The legacy of the film is significant in both animation and broader storytelling. Technically, it set new standards for CGI in terms of fluid character motion, realistic environmental simulation, and complex aerial choreography. The animator's attention to aerodynamic principles, weight, and momentum in flight sequences created a sense of realism rarely achieved in prior animated films. Character animation, particularly of Toothless, demonstrated the capacity of CGI to convey emotion, personality, and subtlety without verbal dialogue. This influenced subsequent animated films, encouraging studios to invest in nuanced nonverbal performance and immersive world-building. Culturally, the film resonated because of its universal themes, courage, empathy, and the capacity to challenge entrenched traditions. Hiccup's journey from an underestimated teenager to a wise, inventive leader mirrors archetypal coming-of-age narratives, while his bond with Toothless symbolizes the potential of trust and understanding to overcome fear and prejudice. Audiences responded to the portrayal of dragons not as monsters but as sentient, emotional beings, prompting reconsideration of assumptions about difference and the other. These narrative choices elevated the film beyond mere fantasy adventure, giving it emotional depth and moral resonance that appealed to both children and adults. Comparisons with the original book series by Cressida Cowell reveal both similarities and differences. While the book establishes Hiccup's identity as a clever and somewhat socially awkward Viking, the film expands the emotional depth and visual spectacle, introducing cinematic elements such as high-speed aerial battles and elaborate dragon designs. The Night Fury, central to the film's narrative, is far more dramatically characterized than in the book, and key plot points, including the Red Death and the climactic battle, are original to the film. Nevertheless, the thematic core, friendship between human and dragon, personal growth, and the subversion of traditional expectations, remains consistent, demonstrating a faithful adaptation of the spirit rather than the letter of the source material. The cast of characters and dragons is extensive, reflecting the depth of the fictional world. Hiccup serves as the protagonist, combining intellect, ingenuity, and moral courage. Stoic represents authority and tradition, while Gobber provides mentorship and comic relief. Astrid embodies strength, independence, and adaptability. Secondary characters, including Snotlout, Fishlegs, Roughnut, and Toughnut, contribute diversity in personality, behavior, and perspective. Dragon species range from the agile and intelligent Night Fury to the short and strong Gronkle, the fire-igniting monstrous Nightmare, and the colorful, precise deadly Natter. Each species is carefully designed to convey unique abilities, temperament, and aesthetic appeal, creating a visually rich ecosystem that supports narrative variety and imaginative engagement. The franchise also expanded through short films, such as Legend of the Bone Napper Dragon, which explore humorous or character-driven scenarios outside the main narrative arc. These shorts provide additional context, explore side stories, and reinforce audience familiarity with the dragon's behaviors and personalities. They serve as supplemental content that deepens the audience's understanding of the fictional universe and maintains engagement between major film releases. Awards and accolades further attest to the film's impact. Nominations for the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, recognition from the Annie Awards, and various international honors highlight both technical innovation and narrative achievement. Critics consistently praised the balance of breathtaking visual sequences, emotional depth, and humor. Audience reception, reflected in strong box office performance and enduring popularity, confirms the film's success in connecting with viewers on multiple levels. The enduring influence of How to Train Your Dragon is evident in the broader landscape of animated storytelling. Its combination of technical innovation, sophisticated character development, and moral depth encouraged subsequent animated films to pursue similar ambitious storytelling. Themes of empathy, cooperation, and understanding difference are increasingly common in modern animation, reflecting the narrative blueprint established by the film. Additionally, the focus on immersive environmental design and fluid, realistic motion set new industry benchmarks, influencing CGI practices across studios. In summary, How to Train Your Dragon is more than an animated adventure, it is a multifaceted cultural phenomenon. From its meticulously crafted Viking world and richly developed characters to its innovative animation, soaring musical score, and emotionally resonant narrative, the film exemplifies the potential of animation to combine spectacle with substance. Its exploration of empathy, courage, and innovation resonates universally, appealing to both children and adults, while its franchise expansion, including sequels, television series, short films, and merchandise, ensures continued cultural relevance. By blending technical mastery with narrative sophistication, How to Train Your Dragon has secured a lasting legacy in animation, storytelling, and popular culture. Its influence continues to shape the way audiences and creators approach animated films, emphasizing that imagination, heart, and innovation together create stories that endure. How to Train Your Dragon, released in 2010, stands as one of the most remarkable animated features of its decade, blending breathtaking visual artistry, compelling character arcs, and a story that appeals to both children and adults. Produced by DreamWorks Animation, the film was developed as an adaptation of the popular book series by Cressida Cowell, which had already captured the imaginations of young readers worldwide. While loosely based on Cowell's narrative, the film takes creative liberties that expand the Viking world and dramatize the relationships between humans and dragons, creating a more cinematic and visually dynamic experience. The directors, Chris Sanders and Dean DeBois, were already experienced in the animation industry, having worked on films like Lilo and Stitch and other DreamWorks projects, which allowed them to bring a unique mix of humor, emotional depth, and action-driven storytelling to the project. Their collaboration brought together Sanders' flair for imaginative character design and whimsical storytelling with DeBois' expertise in structuring complex narratives and emotional arcs, resulting in a film that balances adventure with heart. The production itself was a massive undertaking, requiring the creation of an entirely new animated universe. The filmmakers aimed to depict a world where dragons were not only antagonists but also multidimensional creatures with their own intelligence, emotions, and behavior patterns. The design philosophy emphasized realism in motion and interaction while still embracing the fantastical, which led to innovations in flight animation, dragon anatomy, and landscape rendering. Each dragon species was meticulously conceptualized to reflect both the naturalistic principles of biology and the whimsical qualities that make them memorable to audiences. The animation team used a combination of cutting-edge CGI technology and traditional artistic principles, paying special attention to physics, aerodynamics, and even the way light would interact with scales, fire, and atmospheric conditions. The setting, the island of Berk, was crafted as a rugged, remote, and inhospitable environment, mirroring the harsh conditions Vikings faced historically. The village itself is built into cliffs, overhangs, and natural rock formations, reflecting a community that has adapted to survive among dragons and the untamed environment. This physical setting not only provides a visually stunning backdrop but also symbolizes the isolation and insular mentality of the Viking society before Hiccup's intervention begins to change it. Berk is depicted as a tight-knit but rigidly traditional community, steeped in customs that revolve around strength, courage, and dragon-killing prowess. These societal norms create the perfect backdrop for the story's central conflict, the clash between conventional expectations and personal innovation. Dragons in this world are initially framed as dangerous, mysterious, and fearsome creatures. Their behavior ranges from mischievous and curious to outright aggressive, often serving as antagonists in the villagers' daily life. However, as the narrative progresses, it becomes clear that these dragons are not inherently evil, they are reactive, protective of their young, and adaptive to their environment, making them far more nuanced than traditional monster portrayals. Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III, the protagonist, is a young Viking who embodies the tension between tradition and innovation. Unlike his peers, Hiccup is small, physically weak, and awkward, but he possesses intelligence, curiosity, and creativity. These traits make him an outlier in a society that values brute strength and combat skill above all else. His father, Stoik the Vast, is the village chief, a towering figure both physically and symbolically, representing Viking ideals of strength, leadership, and warrior prowess. Stoik's relationship with Hiccup is complex. He loves his son deeply but struggles to understand him, leading to tension that forms one of the story's emotional cores. The narrative also introduces several other young Vikings who function both as friends and foils to Hiccup. Astrid Hofferson is a strong, capable warrior in training who initially views Hiccup's unconventional approach with skepticism but gradually becomes his ally and love interest. Snotlout Jorgensen, Fishlegs Ingerman, and the twin siblings Roughnut and Toughnut Thorsten provide comic relief, rivalry, and varying degrees of support throughout Hiccup's journey. These characters are designed not only to entertain but to highlight different aspects of Viking culture and the challenges of youth trying to find their place in a rigid society. One of the most significant character relationships is, of course, Hiccup's bond with the Night Fury he names Toothless. This dragon represents the unknown and the misunderstood, challenging both Hiccup and the audience to reconsider assumptions about enemies. Their relationship develops organically, showing mutual learning, trust building, and the gradual formation of empathy. Toothless is designed with expressive eyes, fluid movements, and subtle body language that communicate emotion without dialogue, allowing audiences to connect deeply with the character. Through their interactions, the film explores themes of friendship, courage, trust, and the transformative power of understanding those who are different. Hiccup's journey from an underestimated outcast to a hero who unites humans and dragons is mirrored in the visual storytelling. Flying sequences, quiet moments of bonding, and action-packed conflicts are all choreographed to reflect his growth in confidence, skill, and emotional maturity. The dragons in How to Train Your Dragon are more than mere fantastical creatures, they are carefully designed embodiments of personality, behavior, and symbolism. DreamWorks Animation took extraordinary care in crafting each species to feel distinct, believable, and expressive. The Night Fury, Toothless species, stands as the most iconic among them. Sleek, black, and powerful, the Night Fury represents both mystery and misunderstood potential. Its retractable teeth, aerodynamic form, and jet-like agility make it appear dangerous at first glance, but its intelligence and loyalty reveal a gentler, noble side. Other species include the Gronkel, a round, rock-like dragon known for its clumsy charm and ability to breathe molten rocks, symbolizing that strength does not always require elegance. The Monstrous Nightmare, a large, fire-breathing dragon with dramatic wing flares, embodies aggression and showmanship. The Hideous Zippleback, a two-headed dragon, provides humor while illustrating teamwork and unpredictability. The designers deliberately balanced realism and fantasy, imagining musculature, bone structure, and wing dynamics that could theoretically allow these dragons to fly, while also prioritizing expressive animation that conveys emotion. Every scale, eye movement, and wing beat is designed to communicate personality, intent, and mood, allowing audiences to form an emotional connection with creatures that are inherently non-human. Symbolically, the dragons serve as mirrors for the characters' internal struggles. Toothless, in particular, reflects Hiccup's feelings of isolation, insecurity, and desire for acceptance. As Hiccup learns to understand and care for Toothless, he simultaneously learns to navigate his society, assert his individuality, and challenge cultural norms. The dragons also serve as metaphors for fear of the unknown. Initially feared as enemies, they ultimately become allies, teaching that judgment based on appearances often obscures deeper truth. The plot unfolds against this backdrop of tension and transformation. The story begins with the Vikings of Berk facing relentless dragon raids, a cycle of fear and retaliation that defines their culture. Hiccup, the unlikely hero, struggles to prove himself in a society that prizes brute strength over ingenuity. His attempt to down a dragon using a mechanical device represents both his desire to conform and his inventive spirit. However, the failure to kill the Night Fury leads to a turning point, introducing the possibility of empathy and alternative solutions. Hiccup's secret friendship with Toothless develops gradually, marked by careful observation, trial and error, and mutual trust building. This narrative arc emphasizes patience and understanding, contrasting sharply with the violent, reactionary approach of his peers. Through flying sequences, shared meals, and simple gestures of care, Hiccup and Toothless demonstrate that connection is built on respect and communication rather than dominance. Conflict escalates as Hiccup's unconventional methods are discovered, creating tension with his father and peers. The discovery of the dragon's nest introduces the Red Death, a colossal dragon that exerts control over the other dragons through fear. This revelation reframes the Viking dragon conflict, showing that the perceived enemy is actually a victim of a more powerful force. The climactic confrontation with the Red Death serves as a metaphor for confronting systemic problems rather than individual adversaries. Hiccup's ingenuity and empathy allow him to find solutions that brute force alone cannot achieve, culminating in an epic aerial battle that balances suspense, action, and emotional stakes. The resolution reinforces the film's core messages: understanding, collaboration, and courage are more effective than aggression or rigid adherence to tradition. Hiccup's injury and reliance on a prosthetic leg signify that heroism involves sacrifice, humility, and adaptation, while the peaceful integration of dragons into Berk illustrates societal transformation through empathy and open-mindedness. Themes in How to Train Your Dragon resonate on multiple levels. Friendship is central, exemplified by the bond between Hiccup and Toothless, which transcends species and societal expectations. The film celebrates the courage to challenge norms, showing that true leadership is rooted in wisdom, empathy, and vision rather than fear or aggression. Environmental themes emerge subtly, emphasizing coexistence with nature and respect for creatures previously perceived as threats. Identity and self-acceptance are explored through Hiccup's struggle to reconcile his inventive, gentle nature with societal expectations of strength. The narrative encourages audiences to question preconceived notions, embrace diversity, and recognize the value of unconventional solutions. Humor and lighthearted moments are carefully interwoven to balance tension and drama, making the story accessible to younger viewers while retaining depth for adults. The interplay of comedy, action, and emotion contributes to a rich, layered experience, allowing viewers to engage intellectually and emotionally with the narrative. The animation of How to Train Your Dragon represents a landmark achievement in the evolution of computer-generated imagery. DreamWorks Animation pushed the boundaries of what was technically possible, creating a cinematic experience that combined photorealistic environments, expressive character animation, and dynamic aerial sequences. One of the most notable aspects of the animation is the depiction of flight. Flying sequences are choreographed with meticulous attention to physics, aerodynamics, and motion. The animators studied real-world animal flight, particularly that of birds and bats, to ensure that dragon movements felt natural while still allowing for fantastical exaggeration. Each wing beat, dive, and turn is carefully calculated to convey weight, speed, and momentum, creating a visceral sense of movement that immerses viewers in the sky alongside Hiccup and Toothless. Environmental design also plays a critical role in the film's visual storytelling. Berk, The dragon's nest and surrounding landscapes are rendered with an extraordinary attention to detail, combining rugged Viking architecture with naturalistic rock formations, forests, and ocean vistas. Weather effects, lighting, and atmospheric perspective contribute to a sense of realism while enhancing the emotional tone of each scene. Daylight, storm clouds, mist, and the glow of dragon fire are all used to amplify drama and highlight narrative tension. Character animation is equally sophisticated. The filmmakers ensured that every character, human or dragon, communicates emotion through body language, facial expressions, and movement. Toothless, for instance, exhibits subtle cues such as ear flicks, tail movements, and eye shifts to convey curiosity, fear, playfulness, and loyalty. Human characters, particularly Hiccup, are animated to reflect personality and growth, with posture, gestures, and timing reinforcing traits like awkwardness, determination, and courage. The interplay between characters and environment is seamlessly integrated. Dragons interact convincingly with terrain, villagers, and objects, making their presence feel tangible rather than artificially imposed. Sound design complements the animation, with dragons given distinctive vocalizations, breathing sounds, and wing flaps that further individualize each species. The musical score, composed by John Powell, is another cornerstone of the film's impact. Powell's compositions blend orchestral grandeur with Celtic influences, reflecting the Viking setting and adding emotional resonance to every scene. The main theme is soaring and heroic, underscoring flight sequences and moments of triumph, while softer, more intimate motifs accompany bonding scenes, emphasizing empathy and friendship. The music is meticulously synchronized with the animation, enhancing narrative pacing, tension, and release. Action sequences are elevated by percussive rhythms, while strings and woodwinds provide lyrical depth during emotional or contemplative moments. Powell's use of leitmotifs allows recurring themes to represent characters, relationships, and concepts, strengthening audience connection and reinforcing storytelling without the need for dialogue. The film premiered on March 21, 2010, before its wide release in the United States on March 26, 2010. Distributed by Paramount Pictures, it quickly became a commercial success, praised for both technical mastery and narrative depth. Critical reception was overwhelmingly positive, with reviewers highlighting its innovation in animation, emotional storytelling, and appeal across age groups. Audiences responded to the film's combination of adventure, humor, and heart, cementing its reputation as a modern animated classic. Box office performance reflected this enthusiasm. The film grossed over $494 million worldwide against a production budget estimated around $165 million. Its success not only justified sequels and spin-offs but also reinforced DreamWorks' position as a leader in high-quality animated filmmaking. Beyond financial success, the cultural impact of How to Train Your Dragon has been profound. It launched a multimedia franchise including sequels, How to Train Your Dragon 2 in 2014 and How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World in 2019, television series, short films, video games, and theme park attractions. Each continuation expanded on the original story, exploring deeper character arcs, dragon species, and world building, while maintaining the visual and thematic consistency established in the first film. The franchise has influenced other animated works, particularly in the portrayal of non-human characters with emotional complexity, the integration of flying or action-oriented sequences, and the blending of humor with mature themes suitable for family audiences. Merchandise, including toys, clothing, and collectibles, has allowed fans to engage with the story beyond the screen, reinforcing the narrative's emotional and cultural resonance. Educational and social discussions have also emerged from the film's themes. Teachers, parents, and media analysts have noted its value in promoting empathy, problem-solving, environmental awareness, and the questioning of traditional norms. The depiction of Hiccup's growth, his innovative approach to challenges, and his compassionate relationship with Toothless provide a model for thinking critically and ethically about leadership, friendship, and cooperation. The film's legacy is further solidified by its continued presence in streaming platforms, home video releases, and public screenings, where new generations of viewers continue to discover and engage with its story. Animators, filmmakers, and storytellers frequently cite How to Train Your Dragon as an inspiration for combining technological innovation with emotionally resonant storytelling. Its achievements in animation, narrative depth, music, and cultural influence ensure that it remains a benchmark in the field of family entertainment. In conclusion, How to Train Your Dragon exemplifies the power of animated storytelling to captivate audiences visually, emotionally, and intellectually. From groundbreaking flight sequences to nuanced character relationships, from John Powell's evocative score to its innovative animation techniques, the film integrates artistry and narrative in a way that resonates across age groups and cultures. Its financial success, critical acclaim, and lasting cultural footprint demonstrate the effectiveness of combining imaginative world-building, complex characters, and universal themes. The story of Hiccup and Toothless, of understanding and courage, continues to inspire audiences, affirming that animation can convey profound lessons while providing thrilling entertainment. The legacy of How to Train Your Dragon extends far beyond the screen, influencing subsequent works, shaping audience expectations, and demonstrating that even in a fantastical setting, the themes of empathy, friendship, and courage are timeless and universally compelling. A distinctive feature of How to Train Your Dragon is its meticulous attention to the diversity and biology of dragons, which serves both narrative and symbolic purposes. The film presents dragons as fully realized creatures with unique physical traits, behaviors, and social dynamics. Toothless, the Night Fury, is depicted as agile, intelligent, and capable of complex emotional expression, embodying traits of both predator and companion. Other species, such as the Gronkel, characterized by its heavy body and surprising agility, or the deadly Natter, with its precision tail spikes and keen eyesight, illustrate the filmmaker's dedication to creating a believable and varied ecosystem. Each dragon's abilities, personality, and interaction patterns serve the narrative while reinforcing broader themes of individuality, cooperation, and respect for difference. The dragon's classification, behavior, and feeding habits reflect a pseudo-ecological system, with predators, prey, and social hierarchies that mirror real-world animal communities, providing layers of educational value alongside entertainment. Integration of mythology and folklore into the film's world-building enhances its cultural depth and resonance. While the Viking setting draws inspiration from Scandinavian history, the filmmakers took creative liberties to craft a fantastical society enriched with mythic motifs, ritualized combat, and symbolic artifacts. Dragons function both as narrative drivers and as mythological symbols representing fear, the unknown, and the potential for transformation. The film intertwines these mythic elements with character-driven storytelling, allowing audiences to experience a sense of epic adventure while connecting with universal human experiences such as courage, loyalty, and self-discovery. The narrative's attention to ritual, tradition, and legend deepens the immersive quality of Berk, making it feel like a lived-in world with cultural and historical context. Cross-media adaptations have played a significant role in expanding the reach and impact of How to Train Your Dragon. Television series such as DreamWorks Dragons, Riders of Berk and Dragons, Race to the Edge allow for episodic exploration of the characters, dragons, and society of Berk. These adaptations provide additional context, backstory, and development opportunities, particularly for secondary characters and lesser-known dragon species. The expansions reinforce the franchise's core themes, explore moral dilemmas in greater depth, and maintain continuity with the main films. Video games and interactive digital media also allow fans to inhabit the world actively, participating in dragon training, exploration, and strategic challenges that parallel the narrative arcs of the films. These cross-media endeavors demonstrate the franchise's commitment to transmedia storytelling, offering audiences multiple entry points into the universe while maintaining narrative and thematic coherence. Critical and fan analysis of the franchise highlights its unique ability to balance spectacle, emotional resonance, and intellectual engagement. Scholars and critics frequently cite the trilogy as a model of character-driven storytelling within high-budget animation, noting how the narrative challenges traditional notions of heroism, fear, and societal norms. Fans engage in detailed analyses of character motivations, dragon classifications, and thematic symbolism, creating an active participatory culture that sustains the franchise's relevance. Online communities produce fan art, theories, and discussions that explore nuanced relationships, narrative possibilities, and moral questions raised by the films. This engagement reflects a deep investment in the story world and its characters, contributing to the cultural longevity of the franchise. Merchandising strategies for How to Train Your Dragon are closely tied to its narrative depth and character appeal. High-quality toys, figurines, and interactive playsets replicate Dragon's unique designs and encourage imaginative engagement with the story world. Collectibles emphasize both the individuality of dragon species and the personalities of human characters, reinforcing the educational and emotional aspects of play. Video games and apps allow players to simulate dragon training, problem-solving, and cooperative interactions, blending entertainment with narrative learning. The strategic combination of physical merchandise, digital media, and narrative content ensures that audiences can experience the franchise across multiple platforms, deepening engagement and loyalty. The legacy of How to Train Your Dragon within the history of animation is notable for its combination of technical innovation, emotional storytelling, and thematic sophistication. The film's advanced CGI techniques, particularly in simulating flight, water, wind, and environmental interaction, setting new standards for realism and immersion in animated worlds. At the same time, the franchise demonstrates that technical achievement can coexist with compelling human drama, challenging the misconception that CGI-heavy films lack emotional depth. By foregrounding character development, moral complexity, and relationship-driven narratives, the series elevates the expectations for animated storytelling, influencing subsequent films and establishing a benchmark for integrating artistry and narrative integrity. The trilogy also contributes to conversations about representation and narrative inclusivity in animation. By focusing on characters who succeed through intelligence, empathy, and creativity rather than physical dominance, the films offer alternative models of heroism that resonate with diverse audiences. Hiccup's vulnerability, innovative thinking, and moral courage provide a protagonist who defies traditional masculine tropes, promoting a more inclusive understanding of strength. Similarly, Astrid's evolution and leadership highlight the value of collaboration, competence, and moral integrity across gendered expectations. These narrative choices reinforce the franchise's cultural relevance, providing audiences with meaningful role models and expanding the possibilities of animated storytelling. In exploring dragon-human relationships, the films also engage with ethical and philosophical questions. The depiction of coexistence, mutual respect, and ethical stewardship parallels real-world challenges in environmental conservation, interspecies interaction, and community responsibility. The narrative emphasizes that understanding and compassion are active, ongoing practices rather than innate traits, reflecting an ethical framework that encourages audiences to consider their responsibilities toward others, both human and non-human. This dimension adds intellectual and moral depth to the franchise, allowing it to resonate in educational and ethical discussions beyond its entertainment value. The global influence of How to Train Your Dragon is reflected in its adoption across multiple media markets, translated into numerous languages, and adapted for culturally diverse audiences. Its universal themes of friendship, courage, and empathy enable it to transcend linguistic and cultural barriers, contributing to its enduring popularity. International critical acclaim, robust box office performance, and active fan communities across continents testify to the franchise's ability to resonate broadly while maintaining narrative integrity and emotional authenticity. The continued relevance of the franchise is further ensured through ongoing expansions, spin-offs, and adaptations. Beyond the main films and television series, the world of Berk has been explored through graphic novels, illustrated books, and educational materials, allowing audiences to engage with the mythology, ecology, and ethics of the story world in varied formats. This multi-layered approach to storytelling ensures that the franchise remains dynamic, adaptable, and capable of engaging audiences of all ages for years to come. Finally, the lasting impact of How to Train Your Dragon is seen in the way it has redefined expectations for animated cinema. It demonstrates that animated films can tackle complex themes, present morally nuanced narratives, and maintain technical excellence while appealing to mass audiences. By combining rich world building, multidimensional characters, sophisticated thematic exploration, and cutting-edge animation, the franchise has established itself as a landmark achievement in the field of contemporary animation. Its influence extends into the creative approaches of subsequent filmmakers, the cultivation of engaged and thoughtful audiences, and the broader cultural imagination surrounding dragons, heroism, and the transformative power of empathy and understanding. How to Train Your Dragon begins by immersing viewers in the perilous and vibrant world of Berk, an island community perched atop jagged cliffs and surrounded by storm-lashed seas. The filmmakers spend significant effort establishing the island not merely as a backdrop but as an active participant in the story, shaping the behaviors, culture, and survival strategies of its Viking inhabitants. The village architecture, from robust wooden homes to intricately detailed blacksmith workshops, communicates both utility and tradition, with shields, banners, carvings, and dragon trophies visually narrating centuries of culture and valor. Smoke curling from chimneys, soot-stained tools, and the wear of daily life enhance the realism of the environment, grounding the fantastical elements in authenticity. The opening sequences depict nighttime dragon raids with intense choreography. Dragons swoop from dark skies, seizing livestock and setting structures ablaze, while villagers respond with a combination of weapons, defensive formations, and fire-based tactics. Dynamic camera angles, volumetric lighting, and particle effects such as sparks and embers convey motion and height, immersing the audience in the chaotic reality of a community constantly threatened by airborne predators. These early moments establish the stakes, demonstrate the Vikings' resilience, and introduce the central thematic tension between fear-driven aggression and the possibility of understanding and empathy. Amidst this environment, Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III is introduced as a figure of contrast. His slight stature, clumsy movements, and inventive tendencies mark him as an outsider in a society defined by brute strength and warrior prowess. His initial attempts at dragon slaughtering training reveal both his inadequacies and his ingenuity, highlighting a narrative tension that will drive the story, the dissonance between societal expectation and individual capability. Visual cues reinforce this contrast, with Hiccup's brightly colored inventions juxtaposed against the muted, rugged Viking weapons, emphasizing creativity and intellect over physical dominance. His father, Stoik the Vast, looms as a figure of authority and expectation, embodying the traditional Viking ideal. Stoik's interactions with Hiccup oscillate between frustration, stern guidance, and subtle care, illustrating a layered paternal relationship that evolves throughout the film. Stoik desires heroism expressed in physical terms, whereas Hiccup's path to valor emerges through intellect, empathy, and innovation, creating a generational and philosophical tension central to the narrative. The inciting incident occurs when Hiccup uses a self-invented bola launcher to accidentally strike a Night Fury, the rarest and most elusive of dragons. The design of the Night Fury is deliberate, sleek, aerodynamic, black-scaled, and expressive, combining the mystique of a mythical predator with subtle emotional cues. When Hiccup finds the dragon trapped in a canyon, the narrative shifts from external chaos to moral contemplation. Hiccup is faced with a decision that defines the story's thematic core: he could kill the dragon to earn approval, or spare it out of empathy. By choosing to act compassionately, Hiccup initiates a relationship that becomes the emotional heart of the film. Cinematic techniques, tight close-ups, careful lighting, and attention to the dragon's eye expressions, emphasize vulnerability and connection, establishing the ethical center of the narrative. Heroism emerges from understanding and moral courage, not physical dominance. The development of the Hiccup-Toothless relationship is meticulously portrayed through patient, gradual interaction. Toothless' physical disability, a missing tail fin, necessitates creative problem-solving, prompting Hiccup to design a prosthetic tail and flight harness. Their first flight sequences are both narrative and emotional milestones, using dynamic camera sweeps, volumetric clouds, and wind effects to simulate the thrill and peril of flight. John Powell's score, integrating soaring strings and rhythmic percussion, heightens the audience's visceral response. The film's animation achieves remarkable synergy between expression, motion, and environmental realism, creating sequences that convey not just exhilaration but intimacy, trust, and mutual growth. Parallel to Hiccup's secret development, the Dragon Training School provides contrast and thematic reinforcement. Hiccup's peers, Astrid, Snotlout, Fishlegs, Toughnut, and Roughnut, embody conventional approaches to dragon combat, emphasizing aggression and physical prowess. Hiccup's success through observation and behavioral understanding challenges these norms, generating narrative tension, comedic relief, and ethical exploration. Astrid's arc is particularly significant. She begins as skeptical and assertive but evolves into respect and cooperation as she witnesses Hiccup's innovative methods and experiences flight on Toothless. Their evolving dynamic reinforces the narrative's broader theme: openness, adaptability, and empathy yield growth, both personally and socially. The story escalates with the revelation of the Red Death, a colossal dragon that dominates a volcanic island and enslaves smaller dragons through coercion and fear. The narrative reframes earlier dragon attacks on Berk, revealing that the smaller dragon's raids are survival-driven rather than malevolent. The Red Death's design emphasizes scale and menace, using dynamic lava flows, environmental lighting, ash, and immense textured scales to communicate danger and narrative significance. Hiccup's response to this threat demonstrates his matured approach. He combines strategic thinking, ethical reasoning, and trust in Toothless to confront a force vastly superior in size and power. The climactic aerial battle is choreographed with precision, balancing environmental hazards, dragon maneuvers, and character agency. Each decision and reaction reflects the character's internal stakes, ensuring that the action sequences serve both spectacle and narrative depth. Following the climax, the resolution emphasizes transformation on personal and societal levels. Hiccup awakens with a prosthetic leg, a visual symbol of resilience and adaptation. Berk itself transitions from a fear-based society to one embracing coexistence with dragons, illustrating that understanding and empathy can reshape communal values. Stoich's recognition of Hiccup's unique heroism underscores the narrative's central thesis: courage and leadership are expressed through understanding, innovation, and moral integrity rather than physical dominance. Toothless continues to embody the themes of trust, partnership, and emotional reciprocity, reinforcing the story's central message. From a production perspective, the film represents a significant achievement in technical innovation. DreamWorks developed advanced techniques for weather simulation, lighting, volumetric clouds, particle effects, and character rigging, creating a fully immersive world. Toothless animation, informed by feline, canine, and reptilian references, conveys subtle emotional cues, making the dragon a fully realized character despite the absence of dialogue. The voice cast, including Jay Baruchel, Gerard Butler, and America Ferrera, infuses authenticity and emotional depth into their roles, while supporting actors such as Jonah Hill, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, T.J. Miller, Kristen Wiig, and Craig Ferguson provide humor, narrative texture, and cultural specificity. John Powell's score complements the narrative through thematic leitmotifs, with music cues aligned to character development, emotional beats, and action sequences, creating a unified auditory and visual experience. The franchise that has emerged from this film, 2 sequels, television series, and extensive merchandising, expands upon the narrative's themes of empathy, courage, and innovation. Sequels explore Hiccup's evolution as a leader, the moral complexity of guiding dragons, the nuances of loss, and the responsibilities inherent in power. Television adaptations expand the universe with side stories and explorations of lesser-known dragons, deepening world-building and audience immersion. The franchise exemplifies consistent narrative sophistication and emotional resonance across multiple media formats. Thematic depth is reinforced through the portrayal of disability, difference, and adaptation. Hiccup's prosthetic leg and toothless tail injury serve as symbols of resilience, ingenuity, and interdependence. Rather than diminishing heroism, these physical challenges highlight the character's capacity to innovate, adapt, and rely upon partnership, modeling a form of strength rooted in empathy, intelligence, and trust. The narrative consistently underscores that courage manifests in action guided by ethical understanding and that relationships based on trust can achieve outcomes far beyond individual capability. The world building of Berk further enriches the narrative, blending historical Viking cultural elements with fantastical dragon lore. Architectural details, societal customs, combat training, and environmental challenges are interwoven with imaginative dragon species, Night Fury, Deadly Natter, Gronkle, Monstrous Nightmare, each with distinct behaviors, designs, and narrative functions. These dragons are more than adversaries or plot devices, they serve as mirrors of societal and individual traits, enabling the story to explore themes of fear, understanding, and coexistence. Flight sequences with different dragons showcase not only visual innovation but also thematic contrast, the Night Fury's intelligence and elegance, the Deadly Natter's speed and precision, the Gronkle's strength and resilience, and the Monstrous Nightmare's fiery aggression all illustrate aspects of human interaction with nature and the consequences of fear-driven behavior. The film's lasting impact lies in its synthesis of narrative, technical achievement, emotional resonance, and cultural influence. It challenges traditional notions of heroism, emphasizing the transformative power of empathy, understanding, and partnership. Hiccup and Toothless exemplify the potential for connection across differences, modeling courage, innovation, and loyalty. The franchise continues to inspire audiences through sequels, series, and fan engagement, demonstrating that animated storytelling can convey profound ethical, emotional, and cultural insights while delivering visual spectacle and adventure.